except you'll wait just a moment for the relish.
Okay, he decides he voted for Elijah.
Oh, Elijah. Okay. Well, we'll take votes on who we think just came and joined us right now. We'll do that later too. So David will continue with explaining for you what his Haftarah portion is, and then continue with his portion for you.
In my Haftarah, Joseph was thrown out of his house by his brothers and sisters because he had a different mother. When his old village was being attacked, his brothers and sisters pleaded for him to come back because he was a great warrior. He asked why they had kicked him out and now wanted him back. They told him if he came, they would agree to make him their leader. So he went. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim ratza v'divrei han'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah u'b'Moshe avdo v'Yisrael amo u'b'nviei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'yiftach kagiladi Haya, Gibor, Kail, who made Isha Zona, Violet, Gilad, at Yiftach, Bate, that they shake Gilad, Lo, Benim, Big Deluf in the Haisha, Big Reshoot, at Yiftach, Vayomaru, Lo, Chikab, Vavita Binu, Ki, Ben Isha Acheret Ata, Bivrak, Yiftach, Mipene, Echad, Bishop Eretz Tov, Yilaktu al Yiftach Anashim Rekim Etsu Imo Vayahi Miyamim Venilchamu B'nei Amon Yim Yisrael Vayahi Kasher Nilchu B'nei Amon Yim Yisrael Venilchu Ziknei Gilad Lekachat et Yiftach Me'eretz Tov V'yomru Yiftach Lekachat Hayita Lanu Lekatzin V'nilchama B'nei Amon V'yomer Yiftach Ziknei Gilad Halo Atem Sinetem Oti Tigreshuni B'beit Avi Madua Ba'atem Elai Ata Kasher Tzar Lechem V'yomru Ziknei Gilad El Yiftach Lekein Ata Sinek Shavenu Elecha Halekta Imanu V'nilchamata b'vnei Amon v'hayita lanu l'rosh l'kol yeshev gilad v'yomer yiftach el ziknei gilad im shivim atem oti lehilechem b'vnei Amon v'naten Adonai atem lifnei anochi ehyeh lechem l'rosh V'yomru ziknei gilad el Yiftach Adonai ehyeh shomea b'notenu imlo kivarka k'naaseh v'yelech Yiftach im ziknei gilad v'yasimu ha'am oto elehem l'rosh u'katzim v'yireber Yiftach et kol divrav lifnei Adonai b'mitzvah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol ha'olamim tzadik kol ha'dorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'r'oseh ha'midaber u'mechayeh shekol devarav emet v'tzedek el ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'nevi'im shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu l'kedusha v'nimnukat lekavod u'tifaret El Hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anaknu modim lach U'mevarkim otak Yitbarach Shimcha B'fi Kol Chai Tamid Le'olam Va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Yisrael.
Amen. Yesher koach. Beautifully done. You know, I said this was the Torah from Jerusalem. There's also the Torah from Sinai. And now we get the Torah from David. So he has a Devar Torah for you, his interpretation of his Torah portion, his thoughts on his Torah portion. Please listen very carefully.
Boker Tov. I welcome you all.
Your tone.
Boker Tov. I welcome you all to this nice morning on top of Masada. In my Torah portion, the Jews were wandering through the desert, complaining of no water or food. They asked Moses to get some water for them. God says to Moses, "Go assemble all the people around the rock. There you shall order the rock to give its water for everybody, and all their animals shall come flowing out." Moses doesn't trust God and is afraid, so he hits the rock twice. Today on my bar mitzvah, we are like the Israelites in the desert. We are not wandering, we are not without food and water, and though we may be hot, thirsty, and tired, we know it's going to end. But like the Israelites wandering through the desert, we've all experienced hardships that we didn't know at the time would end. We've all had to hit the rock twice because we've lost faith in God, and because of our hardships, we can understand how the Israelites might have felt wandering through the desert. Some of us didn't get through the hardships, like our family and friends who were lost in the Holocaust. Today, it is easy for me to believe in God. My family and friends have come from all over the United States and all over Israel. It overwhelmed me to think that you would come all this way just to see me become a bar mitzvah. I suppose some of you might have just come for the trip and not even known it was me who was becoming a bar mitzvah. Being surrounded by my Jewish history up here on Masada makes me think of the story of this mountain. When the Roman army wanted to make all the Jews into slaves, a bunch of people went onto this big hot mountain to escape. When the Romans found them there, they tried to go up and get them. But every time they tried to come up, the Jews threw rocks, sticks, and everything they could find to make the Roman army flee. This went on for almost 4 years, until the Jews had nothing left to throw at them, and it was impossible to make them go away. The Jews decided they would rather die as free Jews than as slaves, so they committed suicide, and when the Roman army came up, they had no one to capture. Just like those Jews at Masada, I wouldn't give up my religion and heritage for anything in the world. That is one of the reasons I chose to have my bar mitzvah here in Israel. I might not be the most religious Jew, I might not even be close, but I am still a Jew. It is important, and it's an important part of who I am. I have a very wonderful family history, and I'm proud to tell all its stories. My father and uncle are from Israel, and many of my relatives are living here today. My grandpa fought for Israel's independence, and I know it is special for him to have me become a bar mitzvah here today on Israel's 50th anniversary. I also like celebrating the holidays with the people I love, and if all this isn't enough to make me a good Jew, I don't know what is. In some ways, having my bar mitzvah in Israel is doing all these things at once. My Papa Mac isn't alive to see me on this joyful day, but Papa is always with me in heart, and I am very happy to have my Nana Ricky, Grandma Viva, and Grandpa Josh with me, as well as my aunts Robin and Ruth, my uncles Jay and Gary, my cousins Ben, Sarah, and Michael, and my lifelong friend Ben. By having my bar mitzvah in Israel today, I can be part of my family's and people's history forever. I thank all the people that have helped me get to this day. My tutors, Penny, Robert, and Sheila, and especially my brothers Sam and Jesse, and my mom and dad for putting up with me until this day. Thank you.
David, this morning I joked on the bus. I held up a cucumber and said David was as cool as one of those. and it continues to be true. He has done his work so beautifully, his Hebrew parts, his English parts, and the Torah that came from your heart. He did so magnificently. So at this time we want to honor the occasion with a blessing, and no one better to offer the blessing than Sam Kansen-Beninav. Would you come forward to say a Shehechianu?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, kiyamanu, v'higianu b'azman hazeh.
Amen.
Amen.
How's a picture of participation?
David, take it in. Look out here at these people who have come for you. Look at this setting. You take a moment to look that way and that way and all the way around at this magnificent setting here. What magnetic power you have to bring all these people together. And of course there are the people who couldn't be here perhaps physically, but are here as well with you and for you. And you know your congregation, so many of whom are here for you today, and all those back home are with you too. And to make sure that you know it, I would like to share with you a letter from your teacher, your tutor, Penny Schumacher, who wanted to say this to you. Dear David Hillel, take a deep breath. I mean a really deep breath. Right now. Breathe in that great Masada air. Doesn't the air smell a bit sweeter, fresher, better than at home? And the coolest thing about the air you are breathing right now is that it is the same air that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the people who lived on Masada, and your grandparents who fought for Israel 50 years ago breathed into their lungs too. You are a part of something amazing, David Hillel. You are a part of those people's legacy, history, and hopes. Remember those people, because all they did throughout their lives was for you. For you, for me, for all of us. And they couldn't be prouder of you today than I am. So take another deep breath. And this time, when you do, remember who you are, where you come from, and don't forget it, no matter where you are heading in your life. God is shining down on you every day, but especially today. And I think I know why. Because you are David Hillel Kansen-Beninav. So mazel tov to you and your family. Love, Penny. You know how much Penny wanted to be here, and certainly you know how much so many people wished they could be here. Because you, David, are part of an amazing chain. It's a chain you read from here that began with a leader named Moshe, who during your story here was just over there in the wilderness of Tzim. It began with that leader Moshe, and it comes to Matzada.
It was over there. Moshe.
Moshe, am I turned around? Was Moshe set? Where's up? Leaders who led here at Mitzvah, to the leadership of your grandparents, Beninav, who were founders of this state of Israel, to all four of your grandparents who were the creators together of your parents, Lucy and Jay. And make no mistake about it, because your parents are founders too. The future of Jewish life is in the synagogue. And your parents are founders of our synagogue. From a small circle of 8 people, a synagogue has been established that has created joy and comfort and shelter and protection and education and love for so many. And it's because the vision that Moses had was a vision that came to Mitzvah and came through your grandparents, and it is something that your parents have too. This gift of vision, this gift of seeing the possible in what others think is impossible. And so now, David, it's your turn. And I stand here and I wonder what it is that you will see in your life, and what it is that you will create in your life and create for others, as Moses made it possible for a community to drink water. What will you make possible for others in our Jewish life and in our world at all? And I don't know what that is. Only you will one day know what that is. Because of this I am certain, and that is that you are a builder of Judaism. I am certain that you will create wonderful things in the future because you create wonderful things for us now. So may you go from strength to strength. Mazal Tov to you on this wonderful day. Now I'd like to ask your parents, Lucy and Jay, to come forward, for they have some words they would like to share with you.
Don't cry. Good.
Some things that are impossible.
2 days after your brother's bar mitzvah, I began writing my speech for yours. You were 9 years old, but I figured I could use a jump start in figuring out how and what to say to you. I got as far as the first line, which was to read something like, David, 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 David. And its meaning was to be derived by however I felt, by my delivery, which was to be determined by however I felt at the time. It could have been pronounced with pride, or exasperation, exhilaration, or just as easily, simple exhaustion. Each of these feelings I had experienced a million times each day since the day you were born, and I was hard-pressed to know what I would be feeling at the particular moment I would be giving this speech. So it was a perfect plan, except I couldn't come up with a second line. I put away the notion of finishing the speech almost immediately and went from writing about you back to the busyness of parenting you. Your bar mitzvah loomed larger. Hebrew studies took precedence over basketball and a close second to baseball. Bar mitzvah plans rumbled for attention. And you chose a ceremony on Masada, an option graciously offered by Grandpa Josh, and though you were quiet about why that particular decision, you remained steadfast with it in spite of each new development concerning who could or couldn't or wouldn't be joining you. I, on the other hand, bemoaned each new development as an insurmountable crisis which served no purpose except perhaps to keep me from finishing the speech which seemed just as challenging to write now as it had 4 years ago. And so I did what I always do with something important, crucial, and dear to me. I put it off. And I watched you. I watched you struggle with your Hebrew, kicking and grunting, wrestling with the trope, until one day you sailed through it effortlessly. I watched you with your brother Sam, as you both continually provoked and fought with each other, only to reunite seconds after a forced separation like objects drawn together by some unknown magnetic force. I watched you with your brother Jesse, who couldn't be more different than you, and how respectful and protective you are of each other's ways and differences. I watched you on this trip with your best friend Ben and all your Shirtikva friends, and marveled at how you never stopped talking, laughing, moving, never fighting, never bored, never without a connection. I watched you on the plane ride here, 6 a.m., Air Canada time. I remember awakening to hear some young girl woman endlessly dialoguing with someone nearby. As I shook my sleep off to turn angrily around and see who on earth was answering her relentless questions, I was shocked and then touched to discover it was you. You were talking, clearly, in full sentences. And I wondered, when did you grow up? Did I miss something? I watched some more, and as I watched, I recalled some. I recall those times you drove me crazy with your stubbornness, and just as easily, I recall those times when you looked directly into my heart and touched me with your kindness. I recalled all those moments when music would play from one stage or another, melodies filling the air with memories of Papa Mac, and you alone would instinctively, intuitively know my thoughts, and with perfect timing, reach out and touch my hand. I recall your artwork, the gracefulness of your pottery, the exactness of your origami, the impact of your skillfully drawn cartoons that often spoke so much louder and clearer than your words. I recalled your sensitivity, your wisdom, your clarity, which always hit me by surprise, but never failed to move me in its succinctness. And only then did I know how to truly begin this speech, or at least the essence of it. David, I have spent years struggling with how different we are, that I failed to see until recently how similar we are as well. And it is only through this discovery that I realized neither is terribly significant. You are, David, simply who you are. And yes, it is both exhilarating and exhausting. You are concentrated energy and fight, joy, passion, a high voltage shock of power, and all of it is evident in the friendships you have, the way you die for a baseball, or fight with your family, or watch basketball on TV. I don't understand it all, and often I lose patience with it, but I have to confess I'm learning to love a lot of it, and when that's simply not possible, at least to accept most of it. Today you're named David, and the line David, David, David is said with nothing less than awe. And I say that not only because how beautifully you've done today, but at how hard you worked at getting there. Today, and in fact every day for the last 6 months, has been a turning point for you as you tackled not only your Torah portion, but your academic studies as well, admitting finally when you needed help and accepting help when offered. You worked, you sacrificed, and while it wasn't without growing pains and frustrations for us all, you did indeed grow from it and take pride in it. Like the Israelites you talked about in your Torah portion, read about in your Torah, and in some small sense like the many of us who sit with you today, and all who have stood before us here on Masada, a symbol of Jewish perseverance, you have struggled and you did not give up. David, please take this day on this mountain, and take this mountain and its legacy, and make it a symbol of your own personal strength as well as the strength of your people. Cherish it. Remember that understanding yourself with its strengths and weaknesses, asking for help when you need it, and lending your own help to those in need, embracing your Judaism, and never ever giving up are your only options, as they have been only options for Jews throughout time. And David, as you come to understand this and make this a part of who you are, please allow your passion for friends and fun to lighten the lives of those less fortunate, and use your energy and intensity toward righting the injustices around you. Finally, David, please accept that though I love you dearly and am incredibly proud and delighted with who you are, I will never, at least not for a long time, stop pushing you to push yourself.
Steve, anything to say?
Not much. Well, David read from the Torah today, and I'm going to read from the Mariah stationery, which is where I wrote my speech. This is a lot more moving for me than I thought it would be. First, David, let me say how proud I am of you, how much I love you. When we discussed your bar mitzvah a few years ago, you expressed a strong desire to have it here in Israel. You could have chosen to have it in Minnesota and invite your friends to a party, but for reasons that are clearer to me today, it was more important to you to have it in Israel. So here we are on this special day, on a special place that holds so much meaning to the Jewish people. As a Jew in Minnesota, it's not easy to maintain a Jewish identity. You are constantly surrounded by so many non-Jewish things, including the name of the city we live in, St. Paul, and the school you attend, St. Paul Academy. Yet, from the time you were little, you have always been interested in your Jewish identity and heritage. As the quiet one in the Kansan-Beninoff family, you haven't always shared that part of yourself verbally. But by becoming a bar mitzvah on Masada in Israel, you have spoken louder than mere words can. David, your decision to come to Israel for your bar mitzvah continues the journey begun by your ancestors centuries ago. From Abraham to Moses to King David to the martyrs on Masada to those who have fought for Israeli independence, and back to you, another David, the Jewish people have endured. As you know, many were persecuted and even killed for their beliefs, including those on Masada, and more recently the Holocaust, including your great-grandparents and your great-aunt Aviva. Yet by being here today, along with our family and friends, you have reaffirmed that despite the hardships, we not only endure, but thrive. It is through you and your generation that the Jewish people remain strong. David, I know all those here with you today are proud of what you have accomplished. I also know that many family friends no longer with us, including your Papa Mac and Uncle Jonathan, are here with you today. David, you have brought honor to the Jewish people who have come before you, and joy to those who stand with you today.
Our service continues on page 6 as we read responsively. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind.
I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires of me no abdication of my heart.
I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps.
I am a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes.
I am a Jew because born of Israel and having lost her, I have felt her live again in me, more loving than myself.
I am a Jew because born of Israel and having regained her, I wish to live after me, more living than myself.
I am a Jew because the promise of Israel is the universal promise.
I am a Jew because for Israel and for all Jews, the world is not yet completed. We are completing it every day.
Please rise. We continue with Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, Shelo asanu kogaye haratzot, v'lo hasamanu kamishpachot hadama. Shelo samchalkeinu kahem, v'go haramenu k'chol amona. V'anachnu horim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamalchim hakadosh baruch Hu. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to the Iru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach. Mourning could be nothing other than Hatikva. Please join with me. Kol Od V'Lev